अस्तु, प्रार्थनां कृत्वा प्रारम्भं करिष्यामः। ॐ योऽन्तः प्रविश्य मम वाचमिमां प्रसुप्तां सञ्जीवयत्यखिलशक्तिधरस्वधाम्ना अन्यांश्च हस्तचरणश्रवणत्वगादीन् प्राणान्नमो भगवते पुरुषाय तुभ्यम्। वागर्थाविव सम्पृक्तौ वागर्थप्रतिपत्तये जगतः पितरौ वन्दे पार्वती परमेश्वरौ। वसुदेवसुतं देवं कंसचाणूरमर्दनं देवकी परमानन्दं कृष्णं वन्दे जगद्गुरुम्। ईश्वरो गुरुरात्मेति मूर्तिभेदविभागिने व्योमवद्व्याप्तदेहाय दक्षिणामूर्तये नमः। सदाशिवसमारम्भां शङ्कराचार्यमध्यमाम् अस्मदाचार्यपर्यन्तां वन्दे गुरुपरम्परां। श्रुतिस्मृतिपुराणानाम् आलयं करुणालयं नमामि भगवत्पादं शङ्करं लोकशङ्करं। हरिः ओम्। सर्वेभ्यः नमस्काराः। गतसप्ताहे
नमस्ते महोदय।
नमस्ते। गतसप्ताहे वयं प्रथमश्लोकः दृष्टवन्तः। एकवारं पुनः पुनस्मरणं करिष्यामः, तत्पश्चात् अग्रे गमिष्यामः। अस्तु वा? इतोपि एकवारं भज गोविन्दम् इत्यर्थं किम् इति अपि दृष्टवन्तः। किमर्थं भज, त्वं भज इति दृष्टवन्तः। त्वं कं भज? गोविन्दं भज। गोविन्दः कः? गौरवाणीं यः विन्दति. One who takes away your ego. We'll define ego and everything in over a period of time. But for the time being, we can say that we said one who takes away your ego. Pray to that person. Pray to that Govinda. That was what we discussed. Correct? And we saw the first shloka which said Bhaja Govindam Govindam Bhaja Moodamate Samprapte Sannihite Kale Nahi Nahi Rakshati Dukrum Karane. This is what we saw. Ekavaram Punad Pashyamah tam.
Mahoday, in that I have samshaya asti. संशय गदे कक्षायाम् एकसन्देहम् अस्ति। अनुबन्धचतुष्टयं विषयः सम्बन्धः अधिकारी प्रयोजनं त्रीणि you told that fourth one is what?
प्रयोजनम् उपयोगं किम्? प्रयोजनम्
सम्बन्धः अधिकारी प्रयोजनं. Three only is there.
Vishaya. First one was Vishaya, no? Vishaya, Sambandha, Adhikari, Prayojana. Okay. Vishaya was what was Bhaja Govindam. That's what we saw in lot of detail, no? Astu va? Okay. Prathama shloka drishtavantah. Kim drishtavantah? Bhaja Govindam Govindam Bhajamodamate Samprapte Sannihite Kale Nahi Nahi Rakshate Dukrui Karane. So iti ekvaram katha asti iti api uktavantah. There is a story behind all this. Basically, he was seeing somebody who was standing upside down and reading Dhatu Patha of Panini Vyakarna. And seeing him, he started this whole song and whole narration saying Bhaja Govindam, Bhaja Govindam. That is what was the story behind this. And he said, at this point, what is the Padacheda for this? Bhaja Govindam, Bhaja Govindam. This was easy. Govindam Bhaja Modamate. Samprapte Sannihit Sat Nihite Kale. Sat Nihite Kale is at the time of your death. Kale Nahi Nahi Rakshati Dokroi Karane. This is what we saw. If we do the Anvaya Krama, Kaha Bhaja, He Mudamate Tvam Bhaja. Correct? Kam Bhaja, Govindam Bhaja. Govindam Bhaja. किमर्थं भज डुक्रुं करणे नहीं रक्षति संप्राप्ते सन्नीते काले डुक्रुं करणे नहीं रक्षति तदर्थं गोविन्दं भज इति दृष्टवन्तः सत्यं वा ओके हे मूढमते गोविन्दं भज संप्राप्ते सन्नीते काले नहीं रक्षति मृत्यो समये व्याकरणानि सूत्राणि नहीं रक्षति गोविन्दमेव तं संसारसागरात् पारयति तदर्थं हे मंदबुद्धे त्वं गोविन्दं भज. This is what we saw last time. Okay, now I want some, before we go forward, we said there is something called an ego, but for now we'll park that concept called ego for a minute. Let's think of something else, and let's see what you understand by what is the purpose, or forget the purpose. What we want out of this life. Death is one point. He said death sanprapte sannihite kale. And at the fag end, you don't want this. That means we should want something for the 100 years that we plan to live, no, at least. What is it that we want from this life? What is our expectation, or what is it that we look forward to in this life? Let's start from that question. Good question to ask. Everybody has this question? Anybody who does not have this question? Let's start from that question. I want some answers. Yes, we'll start with Jayapala Mika Modaya.
What we expect from this life is each day at least 1% we need to be better than the previous day.
Betterment from the previous day. So something to learn, or something, or some improvement. Now improvement, that's a very vague subjective term, no? Improvement.
Yes.
So can you quantify or can you qualify that term's improvement in some sense?
Like improvement in the sense, if we, like in whatever field we are in, we need to show that improvement. 1%.
Improve over something. So let us say I was doing some work in some way till yesterday. How am I doing it better today? Work. Yeah. If I have so much money, X amount of money, can an incremental X plus delta X be there for tomorrow? Is that what you're saying?
Yes.
Good. Okay. That is one answer. Okay.
And also we need to, like, if we have done anything wrong on the previous day, the next day we should not commit those mistakes.
Should not commit the same thing again. Okay. So you're saying two things. Now you're defining two things. One, an improvement over something in the past, and something called a mistake which you should not do. There are two things. You are now qualifying two things. One is something you are doing, do it differently or better, what you call better, and something else that you were not happy, that you did not do it right, you do it, you don't do that all over again. Correct?
Yes.
Okay. Now we'll take some more answers. Kalpana Mahodaya, what do you think you want from life? Kalpana Mahodaya?
And yeah, to understand the life better, like what is the purpose of our life? Like it's very vague. Why we are existing? Why
we are existing? The purpose of our life, why we are existing. So that is the question I'm asking, as to what you expect out of it. Can you spend the entire 24 hours just thinking about that?
Yeah, I think we are spending that only. What is the purpose?
Are you
Why are
doing
we
that?
here? What are we doing? Why are we doing what we are doing? So
Why we are
it's
doing what? Okay, so you're questioning an existential question. You're bringing up an existential question. Okay.
yeah.
Okay, Vijaya Mahodaya.
The ultimate goal of life is moksha.
No,
While we
moksha, as we said, is a very vague concept where hardly anybody understands that. So we don't even know what that means. Yeah. But while
that
we are
is
living, what do we want?
like we have to improve ourselves every day towards the path of devotion. That's what he meant to say.
That is what Shankaracharya wanted to say. Okay, that's what you are imbibing. Jai Balambika Mahodaya also said something similar. Okay, Basavaraj Mahodaya.
To understand the purpose of why we are here and what we are going to do next, basically,
What we
to
are
understand
going
our life.
to.
To understand our life.
Yeah, that's exactly what Kalpana Mahodaya also said in some sense.
Yeah.
Right. Okay. Then who else is there? Ashwini Mahodaya, anything you want to add?
Something interesting or any deep, like we can say tivra ichha to live or to see next day, and
To
peace,
see next.
love.
Okay.
uh,
Okay. Usha Mahodaya.
To be free from the anxiety of the future and
Free from the anxiety of the future. Okay. What do you mean by free from the anxiety of the future?
I mean, whatever we do in life, like, like always, there'll be a small fear in the mind, like, something may go wrong or, like, from our past experiences also, like, so that also sometimes does not allow us to do our work in the perfect way or to give our best.
Okay, that's what Jai Balambika said earlier, that, you should learn from the past and either improve upon it or do something better.
The peace that we are all looking for, like the peace of mind.
Okay. Peace of mind. Very strong point. Okay. Parvati Mahodaya.
I think I believe in living each day as it comes, each stage of my life. What I'm supposed to do it as best as I can.
Okay.
And I don't think I have any deep thing to find myself, what I'm here for. But I would like to live the best of me at each given point in time.
Best of you at each point in time. Okay. How many of you think we need to earn money in life? Anybody who says who doesn't want to earn money in life?
Yeah, we
it's
all need that.
obvious.
We all need it.
We all need that sense of, when I say money, it means material wealth. Right? We need some form of material wealth and material comfort. We do need that. Is there anybody who says probably we can do without material wealth and material living?
At the basic minimum.
That is the base minimum. Okay.
Is there something called
Many of you believe our Shastras say don't do it.
Kamam?
Yes, Basavaraj Mahodaya, what were you saying?
I think I heard somewhere it's Arthasya Kamam, right? Like we finally it all leads to moksha, but before that we need artha also, right?
Yeah, we'll come to that. So that is like, there's a little, because we are going a little far, because these are all, very, if I were to use that term, these are a little vague, these are not very clear terms. What is artha? What is kama? What is moksha? If I were to ask that question, then a lot of it will become very fuzzy. And we do not know what is moksha at all. So let's start with something very simple. We all need a level of material comfort and material happiness in life. Right? How many of you believe that our Shastras say we don't, says, you should do away with material living, material wealth?
It doesn't say.
Anybody who thinks that? Anybody who can raise your hands and say yes, you don't need it. So because this was something that I came across when I was doing a lecture somewhere else, and they said, our shastras say no, you should all stay away from material wealth, etc., etc., etc. In fact, that's false. 85% of all our Vedas, all our shastras is devoted to material wealth, material gains.
Yeah.
Of
At
course, it is
different,
given. Yes, Mahodaya.
Yet at different phases or at different situations, you may not need that. You may not give preference to that.
That is actually not true. That is actually not true. At every phase of life, the whole of our shastras are talking about material wealth. In fact, 85%
What
of
about
all
if someone is doing sannyasam?
sannyas is, yes. Okay, I'll clarify that in a minute. Hold on. Sannyasis need a level of material wealth, which they do so by a level of their own way of getting it. They may not do it by the way you and I do it.
Yeah.
But they also work, and they also need something that will sustain them. But that is not through a direct way of generating wealth, but a borrowed wealth. There's a difference between generating wealth and borrowing wealth.
Okay.
Yes.
Now, generating wealth is what you're talking about. You and I are referring to generating wealth. Correct? There's a form of borrowing which they live on. People who give them alms, give them a lot of this one, right? So that brings me, that brings me to a good story. I can tell you that. But before that, I'll take Chitra Mohodaya's question. She had something to add.
Mahodaya, the Grahastha Ashramam, they have to help for Brahmachari, Vanaprastha, and Sannyasa Ashramam.
Correct.
So we don't want money in that way. We cannot say that for these people to help. At least we need money. Number one. Number two. Even everything if we contribute means for our sake we need. So in that way, very, very important.
Absolutely. So that's exactly what I was telling Bhasa Raj Mahodaya earlier, that there are two forms. One is generating wealth. Then another one is living on borrowed wealth. Of course, all of us are in some sense living on borrowed wealth, what is coming from the earth, from the sun, etc., etc., etc. But in some sense, if you look at just the paradigm of human living, that would come into two categories. One is where you're working to generate wealth to first sustain yourself. Once you're able to sustain yourself, you're able to give somebody some wealth who are living on that borrowed wealth. They're not generating it per se. They're indirectly generating by guiding, doing a lot of other things, etc., etc. So these are two forms of wealth. So let me just narrate that through a small, how many of us have heard of Brihadaranyaka Upanishad?
No.
That is not much. Okay. There is an Upanishad called Brihadaranyaka Upanishad, which tells about the whole cosmic life, etc., etc. We'll discuss on some other day, at some other occasion, some other point. But in that, there's a good, nice story. Yajnavalkya, I'm assuming people have heard of sage Yajnavalkya. He was a rishi. He was a very, very known rishi. The whole of Shukla Yajurveda comes from Yajnavalkya. Yes, Basavaraj Mahodaya.
Oh, sorry. Please go ahead. That was a mistake.
Okay. So once it so happened, Janaka, we've all heard of Janaka. Right? Once there was Janaka had set out to create a debate on some topic, some very interesting, deep philosophical topic. And the prize to be given out to the winner of that topic, whoever did the best in that, whoever came out as the best person who could convince everyone, was somebody who would be rewarded with enough gold that were to be put on the horns of cows. There were sacks of gold that were embedded, that were hanging from the horns of cows. 1,000 cows or some such thing is the number mentioned, and so much of gold was given out to the winner of that. Okay, and there were so many Brahmanas, so many rishis, munis, everyone had come over to ask that. He asked the question, who can explain the Brahman? Right? Some very deep concept. We'll talk about what is Brahman, what is etc. 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 Finally, at the end of everything, nobody was able to answer. Yajnavalkya also walks in with some of his disciples. So Yajnavalkya comes, he says, okay, what's happening? He understands what's happening. All that he says is, okay, fine. He tells his disciples, take these cows away. Without even asking Janaka, without answering any question, without anything. He just tells, take this away. So, so Janaka asks, what are you doing? You can't do this. This is not how I said it. He says, Brahmana can be understood only by experience. It cannot be said. That was his one-line answer. Then everybody started, no, this cannot go on. You have to defeat people. You have to actually come up with this and all that. So anyway, the disciples have already gone by then. Yajnavalkya had some reputation. Nobody wanted to dispute. Then it goes on. Then some people come, some people ask him some questions. He answers. Interestingly, finally, Gargi stands up. I'm assuming everybody has heard of the name Gargi. She was a Rishini.
Lady.
Yes, she stands up, says, okay, it's all good and fine. I understand that they were all incompetent in front of you, but I think I'm competent enough. You can answer my questions. She starts a full round of questioning around, okay, what is Earth? Where are we? What surrounds Earth? He says air. Then what surrounds air? He says space. What is it that, how is the moon standing? He says because of Earth. Then how is Earth and moon standing? He says because of sun. It goes on and on and on. So there is a logical way of reasoning and it comes. So finally, she asked that question. Oh, how is the universe standing? How is the universe working? He says it's because of fear. Okay, then she says, who is imbibing that?
Because of fear.
Fear.
Okay.
Vishodeti Vayu. That comes in this one. So at first point he says that. She says that is not acceptable. If it's only fear, it cannot work. Then he says, what is beyond? Then she asks, what is beyond it? Then he says, it is because of what is common between you and what is common in me. He stops his answering there. She says, explain. He says, that's an experiential thing that I cannot explain to you. So finally they get married. So that's what it comes to at the end of it. So the point is that there is a material wealth needed even for rishis and munis to carry out their tasks. It is not that they don't. So if anybody says, it is not that we can live without that, that is not something that is easy. Okay. In some sense, and this argument continues. They get married, they live for a long life, everything happens. He had two wives, Gargi and Maitri and all that. At the end of it, Yajnavalkya one fine day wakes up and says, I need to go now. I have to go and I have to do something else. So Gargi comes again and says, why are you going? He says, I'm going to see. I'm leaving this and going because I'm going to find something more happiness out of something else. Yes, Nisha Modaya. Nisha Modaya, you raised your hand.
Yes, sir. I just wanted to ask you, does Yajnavalkya get married to Gargi? He already has two wives, Maitreyi and one more lady.
That Katyayani is supposed to be Gargi, what it comes to. So that if you read, there are two versions of it actually. So one is that Katyayani and Maitri. Then in some accounts it comes out that the interpretation as Katyayani is Maitri. Is Gargi, sorry.
Okay, but Katyayani is she goes after wealth. So, but Gargi
Maitri is Gargi. Katyayani goes after wealth, then she comes after him. That's a story. Yes, this is somewhere. This is a little disputed in various bhashyas that you come across. This is disputed in some sense. You are right.
Okay.
Because Maitri and Gargi are the same character is what it comes out in many of the cases. So that is you are right about it. You are right about it. There is Maitri and there is Gargi. Are they two separate characters or are they the same person? It is something that comes. So that is something that is not yet fully resolved as yet. So, does that answer the question?
Okay.
So then finally she says, okay, fine, happiness. So then she asks a very important question. Let's keep that one wife, somebody who is very spiritually getting into it. She says, what is that happiness that you're going to seek that I am not able to give you? Looks like there was a time when husband and wives were happy and each one believed in making the other happy rather than quarreling and making each other's life miserable. So looks like that was a good time. And she says, what is it that you are seeking as happiness which I am not able to give you, which you cannot get here? So he says, look, there is something else. And they both go out and she says, I'll also come with you. And she goes. Katyayani stays back and she goes with him. So they both go, they do that, they get into the Aranyaka and all that. Then there is a quest for this. So essentially what that tells is, all that we are seeking, all that you said so far, everyone said, can be put into one simple thing. Whether it is improving over the previous day, whether it is committing less mistake, or whether it is saying, I need more material wealth, or it is saying, a purpose of finding that purpose of life. All that can be put into one simple concept called, we are all looking for something that will keep our manas in a state of happiness. Now, happiness is something that we pursue. We pursue that so-called happiness. But essentially, we are looking for an eternal state of joy. Is that true? Anybody who will dispute this? Anybody who says, I am not in an eternal pursuit of joy? Yes, Basavaraj Madhya.
No, that's correct. I think that's more, more complete.
That is more complete. All of us, in some sense or the other, are in pursuit of that. Whatever activity we take up, whatever we try to do, whatever we want to do, we don't want to do, we are forced to do, in some sense, we all want that thing. Some of us try to pursue it through material needs, some of us try to pursue it through, thinking about it over time, some of us try to pursue it by committing less mistakes, some of us try to pursue it through, improving ourselves, etc., etc., etc. So that ultimate purpose of life for everyone, each and every one of us, is finding that so-called joy. The day we try to get that, we'll probably cease to get beyond. Correct? Is that right?
Paramananda.
Let's leave those terms. No? Let's leave the terms for some eternity to talk about.
Yeah.
Okay, but what is joy? We want all of us to be in some state of joy at all points in time. Correct? Nobody will dispute this. Even when we are crying, we are probably trying to get out of that because we are looking for something in joy. Right? When we are extremely happy, we are trying to get to that state again. Now, which means there is something that is preventing us from getting that. Is that also true? There is something within which is saying you are not able to get it. If we are pursuing something, we pursue only that which we don't have, right? We don't pursue things which we already have. If we already had joy, we would stop pursuing it. Whether we are thinking about past, living in the present, thinking about the future, whatever we are doing, we are trying to get to that concept called joy, which is somewhere we have sort of experienced, some which we know is a natural state. Does each and every one of us have this sort of a feeling in us? Correct? Is that the pursuit that we all are into? Correct. So now with this background, what we should do is we should go back and see how Acharya Shankara is bringing this about. Okay. What will help us get that joy? That is the question. If we know, now we know that we are pursuing something. Now the question is, there are umpteen ways of pursuing it. It could be through our level of material richness. It could be through the way of, working away, through thinking, through whatever we want to do. There are some concepts and some ideas that Acharya Shankara is bringing, and I also talked about Sambandha. How does it link to something that is already being existing and all that people are already practicing? Correct? What is it that you should be doing? What is it that you should probably think doing differently? Is that right? Let's start looking at that. So let's go to the second shloka and see what Acharya Shankara is saying. Moodajahi dhanagama trishna kuru sadbuddhim manasi vitrishna yallabase nija karmopatam vittantena vinodaya chittam. This is the shloka. This is the second shloka. So again, this is probably, there are 3 or 4 places in his entire Bhashya of those 6,000 pages that Acharya Shankara uses this word Mudha. So twice is used in Bhaja Govindam already. Another place is Bhagavad Gita in the Mudha is what he tells Arjuna's this one. At some point he uses that in his Bhagavad Gita Bhashya. But apart from that, he is very careful about using such words. So let's see what it means. Let's do the Padacheda, let's do the Vyakarna part and see, do the Anvaya and understand the shloka first. Moodha jahihi dhana agama trishna kuru sadbuddhim manasi vitrishna yat labhase nijakarmopatam vittantena vinodaya chittam. This is the Padacheda. And so if you look at it, there are three kriyapadani. The kriyapadani santi. Jahihi, kuru, labhase. All 3 are madhyama purusha ekavachana. Jahihi. Okay. Jahihi comes from he dhatu. Okay. He is basically to give up. He dhatu hanti. Give up something. Kuru is do. Karoto, kuruta, kurvanto, kuru, bhavishyati. Labhe, labhate. This is Atmanepade. Labhate, labhete, labhante, labhase. Okay. So let's ask the questions. Jahihi. Let's start with Jahihi. Kaha Jahihi? He Moodha. Tvam Jahihi. Kam Jahihi? Dhana Agama Trishnam Jahihi. Okay. Kuru. He Moodha Tvam Kuru. Yes, Parvati Madhya.
Meaning of Jahihi?
I'll come to that next slide.
Sure.
Wait for the next slide. We'll follow the same what we did with Ramayana. Okay. Jahi means to give up. Tyaja. Okay. Tvam kuru. Kam kuru. Sadbuddhim vitrishnam kuru. Kutra kuru. Manasi kuru. Okay. Kasmat labhate yatnat. Yat means yatnat. Prayatnat. Prayatnam. Prayatnat. Prayatnat. What happened to this? Prayatnat nija karmo patam vittam labhate. Vittam is wealth, right? But what vittam? Nija karmo patam. We'll see what that is. Labhase. Kena vinodaya chittam labhase. Vinodaya chittam nija karmo patam vittam labhase. Tatpaschat tena vinodaya chittam api labhase. You will get something called vinodaya chittam. If you do nija karmo patam vittam, if you get this through this, how do you do that? Sadbuddhim vitrishnam. Manasi sadbuddhim vitrishnam kritva Nijakarmopattam vittam labase. Nijakarmopattam vittam tena vinodaya chittam api labase. Okay. So let's do the Anvaya here. Anvaya Vakyam is He Mooda Tvam Dhana Agama Trishnam Chahihi. What is Trishna? Anybody knows what is Trishna?
Thirsty.
Thirst. Thirst.
The word thirst comes from Trishna.
Greed.
Yes, I'll come to that. Now, technically, if you want to say you are thirsty, you say Patum Ichhami, Pipasa. Okay. Now, that is one form of thirst. You drink some water, your thirst is quenched. Pipasam asti, pipasam nasti. It can be there, it cannot be there. Right? Now, when that pipasa becomes unquenched thirst, no matter how much water you pour in, how much you pour in, it is what is called,
Desire. Can you call it desire?
Not just desire, more than desire can also be quenched at some point.
Desire.
But deep desire, it is basically a bottomless, if I were to word it in today's term, bottomless pit.
Okay.
Unquenchable thirst.
Unquenchable
thirst.
Unsatisfiable.
In fact, India's expedition to the South Pole, that in Antarctica, it is called Krishna. It is called Krishna. It is that unquenchable. What all can you get from there? Knowledge, in terms of knowledge. So that is what it comes from. Here, there are two Trishna is using. Vitrishna, Dhana Agama Trishna. That thirst which comes, that unquenchable thirst arising out of material wealth to be gained. Okay. Kama is not a bad thing. Arthat Kamaha, as you rightly said, that is basically desire. What Basavaraj Mahodaya just said is desire. If you have that and within the means of within your means, and not saying the more and more and more, there is called a Morist economy. There's a capitalist economy, there's a communist economy, then there is a Morist economy. It says more and all. It's an unquenchable thirst. You can go on and on and on. You can never stop. You never know when to stop. You don't know when to stop. Right? That Dhana Agama Krishnam Jahihi. Give up that Dhana Agama Krishnam. Then he says, Sadbuddhin Manasi with Krishnam Kuru. In the Manas, get into that bottomless thing of Manas with Sadbuddhi. Now here Sadbuddhi will mean Govindam Bhaja. With that mind of Govinda, start getting into that. That prayatnat nija karma pattam. We'll see that in the next slide, what that means. I'll put this in this, yeah. Samudha. So let's do a bit of Vyakarna because that's important. Moda. Moda is Akaranta Pullinga Pada. Sambodhana. It should be in a minute. It is Sambodhana, Ekavachana. So it means Murkha, Pratipadartha Murkha, Hey Murkha. Okay. Dhana Agama Trishnam. Arthaya Agamanam Lipsa. That is basically the unquenchable thirst arising out of material wealth. I want more, I want more, I want more. Okay, today I got a new furniture. Okay, this is not enough. I want something different. Maybe I'll throw it out and get something new. Going on and on and on and on without ever saying, okay, maybe I'm happy with it. Jahihi. It comes from Hi Dhatu, Kartari Prayoga, Lot Lakare, Madhyama Purusha, Ekavachana. Tyaja. The meaning of Jahihi is Tyaja. He Murkha, Dhana Agama Trishnam Tyaja. That is the first one. First part. Manasi. Then he says, that's first part. That is done. If you go back here, Jahihi. Then he says, Sadbuddhim Manasi Vitrishnam Kuru. He says something, you give up something, and in that place, now you have given up something, you need to fill it with something else. No. You can't say that, okay, then you know how the mind works. It's like a monkey. You don't give some work to some meaningful work to the monkey, then that's about it. You're lost yourself. So he says, Manasi, Chitte, deep sense of contemplation. Start a deep sense of contemplation. Sadbuddhim. Atra Sadbuddhim arthat Manas Sakaranta Napunsaklinga Saptami Vibhakti Adhikaranam Ekavachana. Okay. Sadbuddhim Ikaranta Strilinga Karma Padam. Bhagavantam Govindam Vichintaya Vicharam Kuru. So bring a sense of, how do you bring that? Vitrishnam, Visheshana Pratiyatnam. Instead of going after dhana, blindly going after dhana, he says, Visheshena Trishnam Prayatnam Kuru. Vicharam Kuru. Bhagavantam Vicharam Visheshena Prayatnat Kuru. With a lot of prayatna, you need, because you know how it is. If you want to sit idly for try to sit for 5 minutes without having to think, and it will be a good sense of, you'll understand what is happening. In fact, we give this to, in classrooms, we give this as an exercise when Professor Mahadevan sir teaches management from Bhagavad Gita. So one of the exercises that we give students is, for 1 week, they need to sit idly. We don't even tell them, meditate, do this. Those are all very technical things. We don't even tell them anything. We tell them no mobile, no nothing. In fact, just close your eyes and sit for 20 minutes.
Vipassana.
Yes, Mahodaya?
Vipassana. There is
not Vipassana. Vipassana is very, we're not using any Vipassana techniques and all that. We just tell them to
mind
sit
runs.
5 minutes
The
or 10
mind
minutes.
runs.
Yeah, no, just sit for 10 minutes. You close your eyes and sit for 10 minutes. You'll understand what all your mind can do.
But that's what the mind will go berserk, run around the whole world and
That
scream.
is an exercise that I suggest all of you present here to try.
Yes.
Sit for 10 minutes and close your eyes and sit for 10 minutes. No mobile, no TV, no electronic gadgets, no book, nothing around you, probably where you will not be disturbed, where nobody will even observe you, nobody will even see you. And then what we do is we ask them, huh?
I'm already doing that only.
Yeah, no, you both are doing quite a bit. That's a different story. I'm not talking about that. I'm talking about those who would like to get started somewhere. So just sit and then keep a journal and note down what happened. Every day, 5 minutes or 10 minutes, just devotedly do it at the same time. And answers that we get, we ask them to note it down in a journal and submit a small, this one, what happened at the end of 1 week. So every day they tell, the first day it is like they thought 5 minutes was up, they opened their eyes, checked the phone, and it was checked the time, and it was just 45 seconds or 50 seconds, and then it goes on and on and on. So we find very interesting concepts that come out. So that's what he's saying. Fill your manasi vitrishna bhagavantam vicharam. With that vichara, just fill it. Okay. He's not, but please note, he's not saying don't go after dhana. He's not saying don't earn. He's not saying don't stop your earning money, stop doing this, stop doing that. Nothing of that sort he's saying. Say vicharam. Don't go mindlessly behind it. Say this is what I will do. This is how much I will do. But over and above that, I'll do something else also. So if he had used the word pipasa, it would have been very different. He didn't say pipasa, he said trishna. Trishna is very different from pipasa. Pipasa is basically you drink some water, you get something, and your thirst is quenched. So you are happy about it. You leave it there. Now you don't, this is like saying, okay, I drank this water, this is not sufficient, now I'll go with something else. And I'll continuously go on and on and on about it. Instead of that, he's saying, okay, wait, give some time for yourself to get into Bhagavanta Vicharam. Yes, Madhya.
Yeah, I just wanted to say that is, if it is pipasa, there is a satisfaction. It gives you the satisfaction, though it stops. But in
Correct.
Krishna, it never stops.
It is never satisfied. That's why it is unquenchable thirst. Yes, Fran Mahodaya.
Namaste. So Trishna would be a more permanent state versus Pipasa that would be like a temporary thing, one thing?
Yes, absolutely. Trishna is like saying, unquenchable. That's what I use the word. Unquenchable thirst. Bottomless pit. Have you heard of this term, bottomless pit?
No.
Okay, there is a term called bottomless pit. Basically, you keep putting in whatever you want, it'll never fill up. It'll get. Or another example is whirlpool. Have you heard of whirlpools? No? Just Google up whirlpool. You have heard that there used to be electronic gadgets called whirlpool gadgets. WHIRLPOL.
Yeah, it's a company of the manufacturer actually.
Washing machine. Actually, the water goes round and round. You must have seen it on the season. I mean, so many places it happens.
Okay. Shyamala Mahodaya wanted to say something.
It's a washing machine company.
Once upon a time. But whirlpool is essentially something that will suck anything in.
The water goes round and round and sucks everything in.
Sucks everything in. There is no way you can escape that whirlpool.
Kind of black hole.
Yeah, something like that. Okay. So that can never be, you can keep putting anything in, it will keep going out, it will keep going in. Okay. So that Trishna can be quenched, that Trishna can be satisfied if you replace this Dhana Agama Trishna with Sadbuddhim Bhagavantam Vicharam Trishna with Visheshana Prayatnat Kuru. So then he says, if you do that, Kim Bhavishyati Nija Karmo Pattam Swachandam Shuddham Manaha Bhavishyati Chittam. Okay, let's see that. Vicharanam Prapsyasi Prasannam Prashantam Chetasam Prapnoti Iti Uktava. Vitta Prativicharanam. Vittam again is a synonym for artha, right? Money. He says Dhana Agama Trishnam here. Then he says Vittam. Vittam is what Vittam? If you look at it, Nija Karmo Pattam Vittam. This one coming out of all the karma going away. We'll talk about karma today because a lot of people will be confused with karma also. So once the karma is washed away, that prativicharam vittam, that wealth that you get out of that prativicharam labhase. And how is that going to be? Prasannam, prashantam, chetasam. That is what will come in if you follow this part. So the problem is that most of us try to do this only when we are in a state of trouble. Not in a state when everything is going well for us. Is that right? Anybody disagrees? When we get into trouble, we all remember, hey, there is some God sitting there who does not like me. Simple. So now I remember him. Now in a disturbed state, that is not going to be easy. If you start it in a state where you're balanced out, things will be very different. That is the point he's trying to make here. Okay. So, Artham Sadhanaya Lipsam Tyaja. The greed to, get more and more dhana. Tyaja. He's not saying don't get money. He's not saying don't earn money. He's not saying don't do that. In fact, the whole of Chamaka Prashna is full of material wealth. That's 336, I think, that you're asking for, right? Then once you do that, once you're giving up greed, there's a concept called greed and there's a concept called getting something. Get whatever is needed. Okay, get whatever you need. If you want something more, get it also. That's okay. But once at some point say, okay, probably this is where I will pause for now at least. And then chitte bhagavantam vicharam visheshena pratiyatnam kuru. Start doing that. Okay. Unfortunately, when things have gone wrong and things have gone out of control, when we are not able to have things under our control, we start doing the second part. How dare you do this to me? So far, everything was going well. Until the point everything was going well, I was doing everything right. I did everything right even now. You got it wrong for me. So this whole point of, adhikara or the phala. Whatever I get, I have to get it. I better get it. Okay. Yat swayatnat swachandam shuddham prativicharanam prapsyasi. If you do this when you are already in a state of relative happiness, then you will get a state of calmness, prashantam. That is vinodaya. Vinodaya chittam. Gather that state of vinodaya chittam. Okay, if you get that, then it becomes easy. Correct? So now, let me come to okay, what do I have next? Yeah, okay. Okay, let's ask this question. Acharya Shankara has used dukroi karane. Correct? In the first shloka, he says, nahi nahi rakshate dukroi karane. What was that fellow? What was that old gentleman doing? He was reading a book, no? He was reading a book. Correct? So instead of dukrui karane, he could have said something else. No, if you look at Dhatu Pata, he was not doing, he was actually reading. Patang Vyaktavyam Vachi. He could have said that. No, why did he have to say dukrui karane?
Is it that Maheshwara Sutrani?
No Maheshwara Sutrani at all.
No, because does it follow within
No.
that?
No. He was just reading. He was just reading a few. This one. He was reading a lot of sutras in general. Dhatu Pata. He was reading Dhatu Pata. So why dukrui karane? And even when it is even if it is dukrui karane, that is one part. There is another thing that he says. Nija karmo pattam. Now, as we saw in this, where was that? Yeah, pattam. What does pattam mean here? Where is that? Where is nija karmo pattam? Yeah, there is nija karmo pattam. What is path? It is basically destroys. Path is destroyed. That's how the Swachandam comes, and that's what it comes to. It essentially means destroying or rather discovering your nija karma. True. Nija is true. No, we all know that part. Nija is true. Karma. Now there is karma, and then dukrui karane is also pointing to krudhatu. Karishyati, karoti, kurutah, kurvanti. Kru dhatu is kru. Right? So then comes the question, very important question that we should ask ourselves. What is karma? What is this karma, etc., etc., etc. So some thoughts on what is karma, anybody? We'll start with Ramya Mahodaya.
Work, Mahoday.
Work is any work, any form of work.
Karma, any work which leads to some results or something like that.
Any work that leads to some result. Okay.
He actually meant signals, but he was saying this.
Karma.
So I didn't want to get into this discussion there because
Okay, Vadatu. Who was saying that? Yes, Basaraj Modi, you were saying something?
It is a cross talk.
Huh?
Just cross talk. He's talking to somebody else.
Okay, okay, cross talk. Fair enough. Okay. Yeah, okay. So something that leads to some result. So what you're talking about is a cause and an effect.
I think it's duty.
Is that what
Karma is duty.
Karma is duty. Okay, another concept I got here. Okay. Then Fran Modi, about you.
From what I know, the word has changed its meaning a lot. In Vedic times, it more meant like the karma, like the activity of doing your dharma probably today. But nowadays, it's been changed to I don't know how to explain it, but like, for example, then it probably changes to karma as any activity, but then we can think of karma yoga as existence probably, or nish kriya, not doing something. I don't know, sorry.
Karma, kriya, duty. Okay, I'm getting a lot of words here. Yes. Then Usha Modi, about you. न श्रूयते.
The results we get from our deeds is karma.
What we get from?
What all the deeds we do?
Deeds we do. Okay, is karma. Okay. Okay. Usha Mahodaya. Okay, I will collect answers. We'll then see what it is. Usha Mahodaya, bhavati vadatu. न श्रूयते. I think you'll have to unmute. You'll have to think through. Okay. Yes. Yes. Nagaprabha Mahodaya, bhavati vadatu.
Maybe she
karma
cannot
starts
unmute.
from the mind in the thoughts.
Okay.
It's in the seed form.
It's
Actions
in the seed form.
in the seed form. Yeah.
Okay. Okay. So it's in a seed form, then it becomes something else, some action, activity. That's what you're saying. Okay. Ramya Mahodaya.
That's one more. The action, I feel like that.
Action.
Karma in the sense.
Asto. Then who else is there? Nisha Mahodaya.
Yeah, I would say all this, whatever thoughts have come, all of it, plus like we cause and effect, or whatever we do has a effect. Good karma, bad karma, then karma yoga, nishkam karma, and then we all have come here with a bag of sanchita karma, and prarabdha karma is what we have to expend in this janma. So all these, and yeah, everything all together.
Very interesting concepts. Okay. Okay.
So basically, whatever is we think we are doing it, and so yeah, we can.
Okay. Okay. Asto. Shyamala Mahodaya. वक्तुमिच्छति वा? Shyamala Mahodaya, you're on mute.
Karma is what to say. It's a thing we have to experience in our lives.
Okay. Okay, that is one. Then Gomati Mahodaya. Gomati Mahodaya nasti va?
Nothing. Actually, according to me, karma is what we sow, we reap. That is what I believe in karma.
What we sow, so shall we reap. Good point.
Yeah.
Yes. Good. Good point. Okay. Mrinalini Mahodaya, do you want to add anything to it? Mrinalini Mahodaya.
No, Mahoday, no.
Na. Astu. Okay. So, we all understand.
जीवनबन्धने लिप्यते इति कर्मः
येन जीवनं बध्यते लिप्यते इति कर्मः उत्तमं व्याख्यानम् अस्तु सत्यं so okay the world is a set of activities do you all agree this whole world is a set of activities nothing else this whole why when I say world I mean the universe the whole universe is a set of activities now some are voluntary some are involuntary some are by jada some are by with chitta right some are basically what I'm saying is some are done consciously some are done subconsciously some are done without any effort correct voluntary involuntary I can use various terms around it it's a set of activities now these set of activities as applied to individuals okay is what can you define as karma as Mrinalini Mahodaya just defined a very beautiful definition ekvaram punah vadatu Mahodaya Mrinalini Mahodaya
येन जीवनबन्धने लिप्यते इति कर्मः
येन जीवन bandhanam lipyate one that holds or binds this whole world together is karma that's why karma bandha if there is no concept of karma this whole world would not exist if there is no activity then there is no if there is no action then there is no world do we all agree as long as there is action then there is world there is this concept called universe world individual micro macro microcosm macrocosm transaction etc 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 now this can happen within also as Nisha Mahodaya rightly pointed out it could be and somebody else also said no that it could start from a thought the very thought that it exists can come up and start going round and round correct that is where everything starts so in fact I'll bring this sometime during the course of these sessions it starts with so kamayata bahusyam prajaye yeti satapo tapyata satapastaptva idagum sarvam asriyata tat srishtva tadanu pravishya satyantyacha yeah it goes on okay I don't fully recollect it so this is what comes in Taittiriya Upanishad so basically how did this universe come into existence so that came into existence by saying someday there was this some form of super consciousness what we call said okay why should I exist all alone so kamayata it desired to become manifested in many ways satapo tapyata that thought the very seed of that thought started the whole concept so that since then everything is karma bandhana so now we know that to make it very simple and straightforward there are a whole set of activities that we all believe in doing now in any pursuit of anything whether it is material wealth whether it is knowledge or whether it is as we said a pursuit of joy in some sense correct we in any of these pursuits we get into some action or we can do some activities correct irrespective of whether there is we expect any result out of it or we do not expect any result out of it there is necessarily going to be a result out of it if you have thought through and made it okay this is the result I want to expect probably it will go in a different direction no better was I'm not qualifying it as positive negative better was none of these I'm not using any of these terms I am saying they will pursue in a particular way if you say there is going to be something that I want to get out of it. If you get into it without thinking through, it will get into some other thing. but necessarily every action will yield something or the other. Correct? And that necessarily will accrue to you, or rather to me or you or whoever is pursuing that action. Is that a true statement? Anybody who will say, no, I perform something that will accrue to somebody else, that will go to somebody else. You might have directed the action to somebody. You might have, for instance, you might be doing something for your child. For instance, you might be paying the fees for your child. You may go to the school, you may take a lot of effort and do it, and it's for the child that you may be doing. But technically, the action itself and it may be directed towards that person. But at the end of it, still that action, whatever you did, for that, whatever is the end result, the ultimate end result is still going to accrue to you. If you bring up a child, well, it is still going to accrue to you. If you don't bring up a child, well, it is still going to accrue to you. Correct? Nowhere will you say that it is the child. Oh, it's all his. It's all good. You can give up that. You can give up the fruits of that action. Is a different story. But still, that will come back to you and me. Is that true? Any action that we undertake will necessarily be on our plates, whether we like it, whether we don't like it. However, we want to pursue it or whatever we want to do it. So that is the whole concept of this whole the karma bhaga of the Bhagavad Gita is summarized in just one shloka, that is in the first triplet. Karmanyeva adhikaraste ma phaleshu kadachana ma karma phala heturbuhu ma te sangostva akarmani. You cannot associate yourself with that. No matter what, it will accrue to you. You have to face the results. You only have the right to do, you have only the control over the action that you are doing. Again, the same thing Krishna says in the 18th chapter, goes on to say in the 18th chapter, where he says, there are 5 parts to a karma phala. Anybody wants to tell that shloka? We brought it a number of times. Remembers? No? Nisha Modhya, do you remember that?
Can you say one more time, sir? Which shloka you are referring?
18th chapter, that karma phala. Daivan Chaivatra Panchamam.
Yes.
Yeah. So there are 5 points to it. One is basically karta.
Karanam cha prithak.
Karta, karana, that is the instrument. The person who is doing it, the karana, the instruments with which they have done. Prutak cheshta, that is basically all the surroundings and everything. Okay.
Karanam cha adhishthanam tatha karta.
Adhishthanam is the surrounding. Adhishthanam and prutak, other externalities.
Adhishthanam tatha karta. Karanam cha prithak vidham.
Correct.
Karanam cha prithak vidham.
The fifth one
the third one. Daivan Chaivatya Panchamam.
The 5th point is Daivan Chaivatya Panchamam. There is something that is beyond all of this. So the result is nowhere concerned with what we are doing. Yes, there is a given certainty. I'm not saying there is no given certainty or there is no goal. That if you set up a goal and work towards it, you'll not get. That's not what I'm saying. But the ultimate accrual of that, there are 100 ways even beyond your control that can go right or wrong.
Mahodaya, Adhishtanam tata karta karanam cha pratakvidam vividhacha pratyahyataivam chaivatra panchamam.
Correct. That is the one. So there are these five things that on which any karma will depend. Now this is the framework of our Sanatana Dharma. Key framework of our Sanatana Dharma is this karma concept. How you build this karma and what is that karma that you should pursue in a way to get to that joy state. That state of joy that we talked about earlier on. Right? Now we can pursue this set of activities in various directions. Now, what is that direction if you pursue that you will get into a state of joy? That is the first step, right? Very important state that we all want to move towards, at least, if not get there immediately, right? So let us understand this whole principle of karma to begin with in a nutshell, before we say we will pursue it, will not pursue it, etc. So some of you gave this example of sanchita karma, agami karma, or all that. So first of all, the karma for us is not a one birth. It is not from the day we are born till the day we are dead. Our lifetime does not end there. Death is just what is called, as Professor Mahadevan put it, it's a comma in this whole life cycle. There's a whole life cycle. You are dead, you will come back. You come back, you are dead. No, and it keeps on going. Punarapi jananam, punarapi, we will see that further. Punarapi jananam, punarapi maranam, punarapi janani jathare shayanam. Iha samsare, bahudostare, kripaya pare, pahi mulare. We'll see that later. We'll park it till then. But this whole concept of birth and death, birth and death keeps on going. What governs this principle? How is it that this birth and death keeps on going? Who governs it? Is there somebody sitting there saying, "Oh, okay, I will dictate. You go be born now. You go be born later." Nothing of that sort. Is there somebody dictating that to us? This from our karma. From our philosophy, we are very clear. This is dictated. You are solely responsible for your birth. You are solely responsible for your death. Okay. So it is very, very clear. Krishna very clearly puts it out. In the entire 18 chapters, he says, you keep doing your karma, you keep getting your results. What is my role? He even defines his role very clearly. What is my role? My role is to be a very good the perfect accountant without mismatching even a single account book. So there is this concept called balance sheet. Those of you who come from the finance background, there is a concept called balance sheet. There is a concept called profit and loss statement. Right? Now, balance sheet is something that is a long-term going concern. Right? What do you do in a balance sheet? Last year's earnings or losses you bring forward to this year, and then continue with the same liabilities and asset column. Assets come to asset, liabilities come to liabilities. A profit and loss statement is something that at the end of a period that you do, you set off the liabilities against the asset and say, okay, this is or earnings. You bring in the earnings concept and say, this is my earnings before tax, after tax, and then you square off. But that's only for a period. So one lifetime will be your P&L statement. But your balance sheet is basically a going concern. It goes on and on and on for whatever, and then until you exhaust all your liabilities and all your assets. There is no concept of I exhausted all my liabilities, I am done. No, sorry. Enjoy yourself with all your assets. Go back, enjoy your full self, and that's where we call the holiday timeshare concept of Swarga or whatever you want to call it. Enjoy yourself in that holiday timeshare resorts. Come back. Exhaust it. If you are able to exhaust, well and good. Not able to exhaust, good. Go back. So I'll just portray how it comes about. Where is it? Here it is. Yeah. Asmakam karmani suchayati. What is our? So there are three concepts here that technical terms. What is called sanchita karma, prarabdha karma, and agami karma. Let us see what these mean. So there is a sort of unending desire. If you have an unending desire, Trishna, Dhana Trishna. That's what he said, no? He said this. If we go back to him. Dhanagama. If there is a Dhanagama Trishna, it results in a state of karma, enough desires. That leads you to do enough karma. Correct? That gives you a lot of karma phala. It may be desirable, it may be to your taste, or it may not be to your taste. That's a different story. But there is going to be something. Now this, if it's again unquenched, you again go back to doing some more karma. And again so on and so on and so forth. And this is an endless cycle. Okay. These are some shlokas from the Bhaja Govindam only. We'll come to this. We'll see this in detail. So how does this happen? So what happened? Let us say from the beginning you wanted to earn some money. Okay, you earned that money. You bought certain things. Now you are not happy. You went on to buy some more things. Again, it was not happy. It goes on and on and on. You want your children bought some more things. You are not happy with that also. Your grandchildren bought some more things. Okay, it went on and on. But at the end of it, at some point we all have to die. No, the body is designed to die at some point. What happens to all that where your unquenched thirst is still remaining? I am not happy with this. There should have been more of this. No, this should have been a better designed way of doing it. This should have been with so much more flurry, fury, etc., etc. I worked towards it. I did not get it. What happened? If you have all those things remaining, that gets into something called, once you take out, it goes into Kala Chakra called let's assume there's a concept called a warehouse of karma that is all lying somewhere in some repository. So in today's world, I can call it a digital repository staying on some cloud. Or I can say, if it was some 25-30 years ago, it was said it's a warehouse with each one representing one bit of unquenched or something that is to come. So this is your accumulated things over the past so many janmas that has come in. Okay. This is there. What do you do? At some point you say, okay, let me take on some, this is your sharira. Let's say the cycle represents the body that you are. You go there, dip something, take a few things out. I want to exhaust this. Let me enjoy that. Take a birth. So this is called the prarabdha karma. This has to be exhausted by this body that you have undertaken. There is no way you can go back without exhausting this. Okay. Yes, Parvati Mohadaya.
So you decide what baggage you travel with, or it's predestined?
You decide what baggage you want, and according to that baggage, you decide who should be your parents, where you can best exhaust that. So,
what if I choose only by good deeds? So I'll have a good life.
You choose that sort of this one. That's it.
But I will not exhaust my bad one. I cannot offset it with good deeds this one.
You can't.
Does it
so that's the whole point. There's no offsetting concern.
Okay.
Going concern. It's a going concern. There is no offsetting business here. No offsetting. No offsetting happens only at the end of at the time of death. I'll show you how that happens also. So that is the prarabdha karma you have taken for this. Chaturvarnyam maya srishtam guna karma vibhagashaha. Krishna said this, 4th chapter, you can read that. Chaturvarnyam, he is talking about Chaturvarnyam, but he is essentially saying guna and karma vibhagasha. Based on that, you choose who your parents are, or based on that, you start living. You get this prarabdha karma based on what you need to exhaust. You'll then find the best surrounding for yourself to exhaust this, or that Atma tries to find the best surrounding. In that process, it finds the parent and gets in and tries to get over it. Okay. Then this prarabdha karma, it has to now, this will get exhausted. This part will necessarily get exhausted. There is no way it will not get exhausted. It is like, as they say, it is like a arrow. The best example that is given is arrow left out of a quiver. Once it is let out, it will hit something. There's no way you'll run and catch it, or whatever you do, the only way it can stop is it has to hit something. So this will get it.
Mahodaya, karma begins kayena vacha manasendetva buddhyatmana. There itself karma starts, no? Kaya, vacha, manas.
Yes. So even before the kaya comes into the being, no? Kaya is just once you are conceived and once that atma gets in, that's where the karma will begin. It starts. Okay. The moment it starts, there are 3 possibilities from here. Once you exhaust this, what you can do is, you can have a situation where nothing is remaining. Nothing remains. All this is exhausted and it's a clean slate. or you have accumulated something which is a little more than what you, which is a little less than what you got, okay, or you can accumulate much more than what you got. One of the three things can happen. Is there any other fourth possibility? This is what is called agami karma. This is at the time of your death. Correct? Now, what happens to this agami karma? Krishna says, I am the most faithful accountant you will ever find on this planet or on anywhere. So, in this one. So, this agami karma will go back to the warehouse. If there is nothing, zero will get added, something will reduce. If you have earned more than what you have got, more, this will become plus minus whatever you want to get it. Okay. So in any case, something will get added or it will remain as is. Okay. Then of course the body will leave, the Atman will go somewhere else. So that's where we have these various, you want to call it Swarga, Naraka or whatever you want to call this. It will go about, and that is what you would call it as some sort of a holiday timeshare. And by the time you have ended and your time is up there, the Atman will again come back. It will start the Jivana again. The Kala Chakra will go on. So this is your concept of time, and this is the concept of the birth that goes on. Yes, Parvati Mohdaya.
At that timeshare place, you don't accumulate any karma.
Huh?
You don't do any karma in that in-between period. You don't add or minus.
In between. That is seamless. That part thankfully is seamless somewhere.
Okay.
So of course, there are about enough stories of, or rather to put it out differently, this one is instantaneous. The action and the results are instantaneous, and those are meted out very clearly, and also those are not something that where independent decision making is so much. So that is the concept. So independent decision making is with the human faculties only. Otherwise, most of it is pre-programmed. So if you look at it, okay, let me come back. Yes, Ramya Mahodaya.
Mahodaya, can we call that Swarga, Naraka, whatever it's there, staying there itself, is that the moksha?
No. That is the difference. That's the difference between the Abrahamic religions and our concept of this one. So moksha is beyond that. In fact, that's what I'll come to. So the moksha is a state where you have exhausted all this karma, all this sanchita karma, and everything is zero. Okay. So the moment that happens, that is the state of moksha. If that happens at the time of death, it is moksha. But suppose there is, let me complete, I'll just let you ask the question. Suppose there is prarabdha karma remaining, but sanchita is burnt out, and there is no agami accumulation, then also the person remains, the atma remains in the body, and that is the state of jnana. Examples are Ramakrishna Paramahamsa, for instance, or Ramana Maharshi, for whom accumulation of karma was not happening. At the same time, their sanchita karma was over. Only thing that they were experiencing here was the prarabdha, what they had come with. And when they left the body, it was that jnana was there. They are called the jivan muktas. Okay. So that is our concept. Yes, Fran Mahodaya.
I was thinking about something on the same lines of the Jiva Mukta, but the Jiva Mukta still does actions, right? So we cannot get rid of existence without doing any activities, right? That's what I've understood now. So activities somehow prove the existence of the jivas now. Okay, so in that line, how do we, or can we understand that a jiva mukti does not desire anything? Like it's like everything is beyond that?
Okay, let me answer that a little differently. So for a Jivan Mukta, the Sanchita Karma is all washed out. The Prarabdha is still there. Correct? Now, what is a karma? That is Kala Baddha, Manasa Baddha. Correct? That's basically bound to two things. Kala, time. Now, when I say time, I mean the past and the future. If there is no past and if there is no future, then you are essentially in the present. Essentially, that's a thoughtless state. A mind is a bundle of thoughts. Any thought is either in the past or in the future. You cannot say there is a thought in the present. Think about it. It's a pretty deep thought. It's a pretty deep concept. Think about it. You can never say I'm thinking for the present. You are either thinking about something that's happened in the past, or you are thinking about something that will happen in the future. The moment you say I don't have a thought, that you are in the present. So all their activities and everything that they are pursuing will be in that present, which will exhaust that prarabdha. Okay, so that is a very different state. Now, Ramana Maharshi, for instance,
meditation we can experience, Mahodaya.
I am assuming some of you have, so I do not know.
No, the present life, we will not meditate present.
Yes. Maybe for 10 seconds, everybody you are capable of experiencing. Beyond that 10 seconds, things go off. That's true. Yes, Ashwini Mahodaya, you have a question.
Sir, how karma plays a role where someone took a Jivanta Samadhi, like, for example, Raghavendra Swami?
Correct. Yes, Raghavendra Swami, or as I was saying, Ramana Maharshi, all these people, they are Jivan Mukta till their Prarabdha is over. Right? Once the Prarabdha is over, they do not, that's why we don't call them dying. We call them Jivan Mukta and what is it called? Deha Vimukti.
Yes.
They leave the body by their will, at their will. So even for that matter, Chandrasekhara Bharati of Sringeri, he took Jala Samadhi. There is a very recent recording, about 80, 90, 100 years at best. He just went into water and said, okay, this is when I'm leaving. That's about it. He was there in, that's all deep yoga, yogic ways of doing things. There are a lot of yogis who do it. You'll see a lot of people in fact, in the Himalayas, if you go, even today, who will be roaming all around in ice and snow and so much of cold weather without any clothes on their body.
Yeah.
For instance, Ramana Maharshi, there was sarcoma. He was suffering from so much of cancer. So doctors came and said, we have to operate. He said, okay, you do whatever you want. I'm not concerned. They said, we have to give you anesthesia. You will be unconscious. They said, no unconscious business. You want to cut something, cut. Doctors were scared. So they were operating. Doctors could not believe that he was sitting there without. It is not that they don't experience pain. Please not. What they as a body, they do need to experience pain, but they don't need to go through suffering. The suffering comes because of the thoughts that come in. Pain is necessarily there. Pain is a bodily function. It can't be helped. Then the story goes on. Like with Ramana Maharshi, the story goes on. They cut out some part of his body. They did an operation. They sewed it. They kept it. And they said, don't expose it and all that. And he said, nothing doing. You go, something will happen. Then they cut and they went. Then the students figured out they were shivering in the night because it was very cold. So they thought, okay, the wound had to be just put out, banded well and then covered. They thought, okay, maybe putting some fire under this one will help. So they put some fire under that leg for him to go through. And in the morning when the doctor came back, they figured out it had pooped. It is flesh after all. So So Ramana Maharshi apparently joked and said, okay, one of you come cut it, another one comes and cooks it, the third will come and eat it. So those are different states. I mean, you can't, it's not easy to get to those states. So yeah, these are things that we know as examples, which we have seen. It is not like these are not cooked up stories. Well documented, well written, well known stories. Right. So yeah, yes, Sushila Madhya.
Yeah, I wanted to know that pain is in the body, but the suffering is because of the mind.
Suffering is only in the mind. The pain is necessarily a bodily function. You will experience pain. There is no way. Whether you pay attention to it, whether you give some importance to it.
Paying attention is done by the mind.
Is done by them. You can experience it. I mean, I'll give you a very simple example. You take when you're in a very good, very jolly, no, this one mood, voluntarily prick your hand with a small needle, and then you'll say, hey, it is good. Same thing when you're stressed out, do it, you'll figure out what pain is. Right? It's a very normal this one. Yes, Parvati Mahodaya.
No, I saw this in real life. There was this old lady who had a fall, and she had a surgery, and they said you have to use a walker. She had like dementia. She said there's nothing wrong, and she just started walking. So we were so amazed because she's old, but her mind told her there's no pain, nothing wrong with her, and I've seen that in real life.
Now actually there are a lot of MR studies going on around this. How this pain, how pain works, what happens with pain, how can things be done without these things. A lot of FMR studies are going on. Lot of 3D imaging of the brain mapping is happening. How the signals are sent out. What happens in a state where in people whose minds are different, who are attuned to these things. So much of it is happening. But yeah, they're all in good research states. But we'll see how that goes. Okay, so with this, we'll probably stop for today. We've already crossed 8:30. Okay, so next week we'll meet again. Hopefully, we'll keep it this way. We'll keep it this as a combination of both. We'll see 1 or 2 shlokas every week and then go about with a lot of understanding of deeper concepts. Astu va? Okay. Om Sarve Bhavantu Sukhirah, Sarve Santu Niramayah, Sarve Bhadrani Pashyantu, Kaschid Dukkha Bhag Bhavet, Hari Om, Shri Krishna Arpanamastu, Shri Guru Charana Arvinda.